Welcome to O's Corner with your host, ONYI.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to episode 5 of O's Corner. I am your host, ONYI, and it is such a pleasure and joy to be here with you. Happy New Year. It is such a trip that 2020 is over. I feel like we literally blinked a few times and 2021 showed up like, hey, hi, I'm here. How you doing? I don't know about anyone else, but it just felt like last year was both the longest and the shortest year simultaneously. I don't even know how that happens, except to say that time really got jokes. Whatever ideas we have about linear time, for me, certainly went out the window even more than it had already. Because I already have talked about recognizing that this idea of linear time is just that, an idea. Past, present, future all exist now, the here and now. But just the way that time was malleable, flexible, we were going in and out of time. Sometimes I was like, what did I just do 5 minutes ago or even yesterday? Or seeming to skip ahead and be further along. Just, it was extra last year. It was extra. So much happened. So much happened last year. And I definitely encourage everyone to do whatever you need to do to reflect, to release, to integrate, to just be in gratitude, to grieve if need be. So many people were lost, so much was lost, and really allowing for the proper grieving to occur, I think, is absolutely necessary. It's so necessary. And a lot of space was created for us to really envision something different and something new. So really stepping into the endless possibilities of what we can actually create. Again, so much happened in 2020. And actually, before we continue with today's discussion, I would like to do what I have been doing since the inception of O's Corner and just take a moment to ground and center and acknowledge everything around us, all of the beings in the seen and unseen worlds that support us, that hold us, that co-create with us. And first and foremost, I actually want to acknowledge and thank our higher selves. I acknowledge my higher self. I acknowledge your higher self. I honor you all. I thank you for choosing to be here, choosing to incarnate on this earth at this time to experience everything we're experiencing together, to teach and learn with each other. Thank you. Thank you to our ancestors. Thank you to those that came before us. I honor my own individual ancestors. I honor your ancestors. I honor our collective ancestors, our ancestors going back to the beginning of time. Thank you for the choices you made. Thank you for who you were to yourselves, who you were, who you are to us. Whatever you did that serves as a reflection for us to know who we are, and also for us to see what we prefer and what we don't prefer. Thank you. Thank you for that. And as we heal ourselves, we create a pathway of healing for our future generations, and we heal you, ancestors, again, past, present, future, all existing now within us. We are the crossroad. Acknowledging the directions. Thank you. Thank you. May we move in whatever direction is in alignment with our highest good. And in whatever directions we face, in whatever directions we go into, may we be more of who we are. Thanking and acknowledging the beings in the plant, mineral, and animal kingdoms. Thank you for the reflections that you are. Thank you for being what you are, being true to yourselves. You are what you are, nothing more, nothing less. And may we look at you and remember to do the same. Thank you to the elements and elementals for the energy that you are, and reminding us of the energy that we are and that we have at our disposal. Thank you to everything on earth. Thank you to everything outside of earth. Thank you for this co-creation, this co-reflection, this coexistence. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be here. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. Ashe. So for those of you listening, first and foremost, thank you. Thank you so much for listening. And again, this is O's Corner, the podcast, and it is a space that I describe as being one where the multiple dimensions and crossroads intertwine and connect the different knowledge sets, the different perspectives, the different ways of understanding who we are, what we are, our worlds, everything around us can come together, and we can see and reflect with each other to gain a better understanding of, again, who and what we are, and open up to more love, understanding, the recognition that we are one, period. We are one. We are expressions of the all that is, and there is the multiplicity of that and the spectrum, and we all converge to one. I am you, you are me. We are each other. And I pray that one day we will get to a place, I see it already, I know it'll happen, and I'm doing my work to be the versions of ourselves that can see everyone and everything and see our own reflections, no matter the differentiation, but that we see each other when we look at each other and we see ourselves. That is what O's Corner is about. We are all a corner, a piece of the puzzle coming together to create the whole. And I would definitely recommend that you listen to prior episodes. So the first 4 episodes, we're laying the cornerstones of the podcast in terms of describing what each week's topic will be. And there are the 4 Fridays or 5 Fridays of the month where, again, there will be specific topics that are consistent throughout the month, even though the subject matters or the discussions within those topics will be different depending on whether it's me by myself or if I have a guest. But that is the structure of O's Corner. And again, thank you for being here, for being with us. And today is the first Friday of the month, and the topic for the first Fridays is metaphysics, spirituality, philosophy, anything that we put in the category that all of those belong to in terms of just how we see and describe existence, how we see and describe our connection to ourselves, to the all that is, the immaterial parts of us, the material parts of us. Whatever subjects really fall into that category is what the first Friday holds space for. And what I wanted to talk about today, in light of the new year, plus in light of the specific, again, focus, is just that idea of ending of cycles and beginning of cycles. Opening the doors because a door was closed. You know, we can look at January 1st as, again, an opening of the door to a new year. And that really is based on the Gregorian calendar. And consider that any time or any day that we pick can be a new year. You know, someone actually brought this to my consciousness in a stronger way that inspired me to speak on it today, because I had posted something on my social media about a New Year's ritual that I am doing, and the centering of January 1st as the new year is the basis for this ritual, although the ritual will happen on a different day. And the person kind of asked a question, but it was sort of like a question comment, like, isn't the new year on March 21st? And for a moment, it kind of took me by surprise, and I wasn't sure if the person was actually curious and asking the question or was more kind of instructing based on the stance that, no, this specific date is the new year. So I had to kind of take a step back and also do some research just to make sure, because I already had the conception of looking at spring equinox, which is March 20th of this year. And in doing some of my research, I also remembered that Nowruz is on the 21st. And so I assumed that this person meant that. And also in doing the research, I came across just a list of, I think it was almost maybe 26 other countries or cultures or traditions that have their specific new year on completely different days than those. And also the tradition that I practice, Ifa, we have our specific new year. And Ifa is the indigenous spiritual, religious, cultural, divinatory, philosophical system from the Yoruba people of West Africa. And in Ifa, the new year is in June. So this idea of what gets to be the new year that kind of trumps all new years is very interesting. You know, obviously for different reasons, historically, there are specific ideas that have infiltrated or that have been pushed onto many other people. And therefore we have that unification in that way, which unfortunately to me then negates, the traditional choices of groups of people. And that's a whole nother topic in and of itself. But, when we look at this multiplicity of the idea of when the new year is, to me, that allows for even greater multiplicity. What to you is the new year? It could be your birthday. It could be another day where you had a specific event that occurred that was a shift in a very strong way from prior to that day, who you were. Any day you choose can be that new year. And in actuality, we are changing every day, every moment of every day. We are changing, moving through different dimensions, millions and billions of times per second. You are literally not the same person you were in this moment as you were when you first started listening to this episode. Literally. Like, we change that often. We may look at ourselves and see that, no, I look the same. But actually, I'm imagining that there are those individuals whose awareness and perception is that precise to where they can look at you from one moment to another and say, whoa, you changed. Yeah, I can believe that. We're changing all the time. So you could be like every day, may not necessarily be a new year, but again, new day, new me. I can make new choices. I'd close the doors to the last day and open the door to this day. So it doesn't really matter what time frame you use. If we want to use the mass consensus agreements that we've made, whether, as human beings or whether as our specific ethnicities or specific cultures or whatever specific group that you're part of, because many people's attention is focused on that. So there's kind of a bigger agreement and so much energy and focus to where, okay, it kind of makes sense to kind of tap into the collective energy. And that's fine if that's your permission slip, if that's your tool. But you could literally pick another day and use that and say, okay, I'm going to make this day a specific marker for me to really step into that place of recognizing that I'm closing the doors to old ways of being and opening the doors to new ways of being, to being who I truly am from this moment going forward. whatever that looks like to you. Whatever that looks like to you. And when I look at this idea of spirituality, which, I wanted to focus on today, and I was sitting with what specifically I wanted to speak on. And it's just this continual pigeonholing of, anything, actually. We like to pigeonhole. We like to say, this is this thing and that's that thing, and the two can't be the same, or that, if that's that and the other thing doesn't look like that, then they can't be related, which I think gets us into so much trouble and just makes us so rigid. It does not allow for the flow of spirit. The flow of spirit. To me, spirituality is everything. That's my perspective. We are spirits having a physical, material existence. Everything we choose, everything we do, what we create, is an expression of what our spirit is wanting to experience in order to know itself, to experience itself, to learn what it came here to learn, to teach what it came here to teach, which we will do regardless. Call it destiny, call it your assignment, call it, whatever you chose. At the end of the day, my perspective is that we come in here knowing what we want to learn and what we need to learn to elevate, to evolve. And by golly, we will do it by resistance, insistence, or through surrendering to it, to surrendering to the flow of life, of that spirit. To me, that's spirituality. Yet what can happen is people looking at specific actions, specific tools, specific concepts and saying, well, that's spiritual, but those other things are not spiritual. I find that oftentimes when people say, I started my spiritual path at this time, and it's when I started my spiritual path, or I'm on a spiritual path, or I'm not on a spiritual path. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Does that mean you're now delving into esoteric ideas and concepts? Or does that mean you're just in your awareness that there is more to existence than what we as human beings have created and have focused on, as far as things that don't really tap into the essence of life? What is it? People think that once they start looking at stones and crystals, that they're spiritual. Or when they start utilizing tarot cards or oracle cards, that they're spiritual. Or when they start meditating, that they're spiritual. But there are people who have never touched a crystal in that way, who don't get tarot readings, who don't do those specific things that we have really stereotyped as spiritual. People that have never done that and probably will never do that, yet they are spiritual. They're tapped in, they're connected. These ideas that we create for ourselves and then we lock ourselves into, again, just negate the multiplicity of life, of everything. And I really encourage us to break free from that and to loosen up, to grow beyond that rigidity and allow for the flexibility, allow for the flow. Again, if the perspective that, again, I offer that spirituality is everything or can be many things, what does that allow for? What is your spirituality? How does it express itself? How does your spirit want to move in this world? What brings your spirit joy? What allows your spirit to flow? Oftentimes, it's interesting, people will say, well, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. because, a lot of people have had negative experiences when it comes to organized religions, specific organized religions. And then in their description of what spiritual is, there can still be this rigidity of what that looks like versus what someone else is doing, which they don't consider spiritual. And again, I say, well, you're just doing the same thing. You've just stepped into a different place, but you're doing the same thing. So again, how can we open ourselves up more to allow for the spectrum, the rainbow, be inclusive? We're all spiritual beings. We're all connected. Now we can create the experience that we're not connected, which is just doesn't make sense to existence, because it's like you can never not be connected. But you know what? If you want to choose to believe that you're disconnected, then you know what? Have at it. And we will bring to your life through synchronicity all the things that will be in alignment with that. Because that is the unconditional love of existence and the universe. It will bring to you what is in alignment with your beliefs. So if that's the case, why not believe in something that you prefer, that makes you feel good? That's an interesting thing to consider. Very interesting thing to consider. As we look at spirituality, again, what does that mean to you? In what ways does your spirit seek to experience itself? And again, going back to the idea of new beginnings, of opening doors and closing doors, in what ways do you need to close doors for yourself in order to really tap into the spirit, the essence, the breath of who you are? What did 2020 reveal to you about how you walk in this world? What did 2020 reveal to you about ways in which you block the natural flow of your spirit? What did 2020 reveal to you about the ways in which you act as if you're not connected to yourself or to others or to the earth? That's a big one for all of us. As a collective, as a species, for a long time, we have absolutely displayed this belief that we are not connected to the earth and nature. And every action that we have taken collectively has indicated that. And yes, there are definitely many groups of individuals and cultures that absolutely have reverence for the earth. And, we are seeing the actions of those individuals and their advocacy for the earth. And in terms of the, quote, powers that be, that see otherwise, that are more focused on gain and taking, capitalism, and so forth. It's like we're seeing more and more the results of our actions. And we are seeing and remembering more and more that we have the power to shift that. Whatever we prefer is absolutely possible in terms of how we want things to be. We get to create what we prefer, and we have to be the reflection of that in everything that we think, that we say, that we do. What needs to shift in our collective spirit, or in terms of how we collectively express our spirit? In what ways do we need to stop pigeonholing ourselves? In what ways do we need to allow for the spectrum of experiences to then remind us of the commonality of who and what we are? It is in our acknowledgement, in our honoring of, in our celebration of the spectrum and diversity that we remember that we are one. We remember we are one. So again, as we look at the Gregorian calendar New Year, or whatever day you choose as your personal New Year, or your lineage New Year, your spiritual new year, whatever that is, rather than getting caught up on when that is. Focus on what that energy is of closing the doors and opening the doors, of shifts, of changes, transformation, a new cycle, what needs to be cycled out so that something new can cycle in. And also be mindful of filling things back up quickly. You know, we release things and then want to just fill it back up. Well, you know what? Release what needs to be released and then just sit still for a moment. Sit still. Let that space be there. Let the space be there. Let the space take up space. You don't need to be so quick to fill it up. Let it be. Let it be. And then when it's time for something to then fill that space, let that be with ease, with peace. Allow synchronicity to be the guide. Filling it up from an anxious place, again, where is that anxiety coming from? Get to the root of that. What needs to be cycled out so that a new cycle can begin? A lot of folks hanging on to anxiety. Hanging on to a lot of anxiety. A lot of folks trusting other things outside of themselves and life. What needs to shift? Again, if you use this marker as your new year and a time to shift, or whatever other day you choose, ask yourself the questions. What do I need to release? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to let go of? And I'll end with a few things that I wrote and posted on my social media in terms of beliefs that I need to release and that I am choosing to release, and that I will work through my words and actions to support that release. I am releasing the belief that I have to defend myself, that I have to explain myself. I am releasing the belief that I don't belong. I am releasing the belief that I have to be something other than who I am. I am releasing the belief that I have to prove myself to others. All of these beliefs, and there are more beliefs that I'm releasing, but those specific ones came up really strongly over the last few days, actually. And they came up very strongly, very quickly, almost like life was like, okay, remember these? I know we've showed these to you before in different ways, kind of spread out, but you know, if you're going to use this January 1st as your kind of big marker, let's make sure you realize that that these beliefs, you know, they still hanging around. And the more you hold on to them, the less space you have for what we actually need you to do. When we're holding on to things that do not serve us, that either never served us or that maybe one time did but no longer do, we are siphoning off our energy, using our power, devoting our power and energy to those things at the expense of what we actually could be doing, should be doing, because it's more in alignment with us and who we are. So what is that for you? What do you need to release? In what ways do you need to stop using your power and devoting your energy to, so that you can devote that and utilize that in other ways? Consider all of that for you, whatever that looks like. And consider your spirit. Consider your spirit. What does your spirit want? What does it need? How does it want to express itself? What is your spirituality? The movement of your spirit, the expression of your spirit. What does that look like? What does it look like? There's no right or wrong answer. It doesn't have to look like someone else. It could be connected to a conventional organized religion or the idea of spirituality in some of the more recent recognized ways, or it could look completely different. And you know what? That's your spirituality. That's you. Be you. Fully. Our responsibility to each other is to be ourselves fully. Can you imagine that? If we were all just who we were, authentically, fully, brilliantly. My goodness, what that would look like and feel like. What that would look like and feel like. I look forward to that. I look forward to that sweet day when everyone sings the song of their soul, and it is such a beautiful chorus. Such a beautiful chorus. I really look forward to it. Again, Happy New Year. Happy New Gregorian Calendar New Year. Happy new moment. Every moment is new. So celebrate every moment as new. Whatever that moment is, celebrate it. Celebrate you. Celebrate your life. Be in celebration. Allow your spirit to celebrate in whatever ways it wants to. Release, let it go, let it flow, let it be. Be in your flow. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everything, to everyone, all of us. Thank you to our higher selves. Thank you to our higher selves. May we always remember our connection to you. Thank you. Thank you to our ancestors. Thank you to all of those that came before us. In everything, in anything, may we honor you. May we honor your legacy. And may whatever innovation that we do come up with, may we support you. May we integrate your knowledge of the ancient, the traditional, the indigenous, with whatever innovation we create. And bringing the two together, may we experience the magic. Thank you for the lives you lived. And may we be your lived dream. May we be your lived dream. We are your lived dream. And may we stand in the empowerment that perhaps some of you didn't imagine that you could do. Thanking the directions, thanking the elements and elementals, thanking the beings in the plant, mineral, and animal kingdoms. Just thank you, thank you, thank you all. Thank you to everything on earth. Thank you, Earth. Thank you, Earth, for always supporting us no matter what. Even as we do what we do to you. May we change. May we have the courage to change. May we have the courage to change and to support you. I thank you. Thank you, everything outside of Earth. I just thank everything. Thank you. I'm in such gratitude. And 2020, thank you for everything that you brought. 2021, thank you for coming and for everything that you will bring. I thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm your host, ONYI, and thank you for joining me today. And until next time, be well.
You've been listening to O's Corner with your host, ONYI. Want to know more about ONYI? Log on to onyilove. That's ONYI.love. Thanks for listening.